I would like to spend some time sharing some thoughts that I've had about God recently. And this is stemmed from a book that I finished up with a group of men. We've been reading this book together. It's called The Courage to Be by Paul Tillich. It is a heavy, dense, philosophical book, so I don't recommend it unless you're reading it with other people who can help you parse out what exactly is being said. But the last chapter of the book is really good. Paul Tillich talks about this idea of a God beyond God. And what he means by that is a God beyond whatever we can conjure up as as finite beings. So the God above God is the God beyond beliefs, is the God beyond concepts, is the God beyond experiences, is the God beyond mystical experiences. And he's arguing, if I'm understanding him right, that the God above all of these things is the God that we're all looking for. This is the God that we're seeking. The God beyond reason and logic and arguments. And I'm becoming more and more convinced that I cannot convince anyone that God exists. I cannot argue for the existence of God. I cannot, because to do so is to do so using human words, human reasoning, human concepts, human logic to describe the infinite, to argue for the reality of the infinite. Does that make sense? So I think what we do is we obtain this faith and then we use words to make sense of this faith that we already have. So I think another thing that Paul Tillich would argue, that the way to the God beyond God is through radical faith, radical unconditional faith. And this is faith that is not conditional on logic and reasoning and apologetics. This is faith beyond that. This is faith beyond what makes sense to me. This is faith beyond what I can experience. This is faith beyond my life. And I think this is a God that we're seeking, because this is a God that leaves us in awe, keeps us in awe, keeps us in wonder, keeps us in this liminal space, this space between what I know and what I would like to know, the space between who I am and who I would like to be. Does that make sense? This is the God that keeps us grounded and centered between these complex, paradoxical realities that we're all experiencing. Some of us are not giving words to these experiences. Some of us are not, maybe not even as conscious of these experiences and the realities of what we're experiencing. And I feel like I'm really getting in some hoopla, and I hope that I'm making sense. But the God beyond God is the God that I'm seeking, and then the God that I think we're all seeking, which means we're all stumbling along our way, which means we're going to continue to learn and be exposed to the God beyond God, because we are finite creatures and God is infinite. And as a finite creature, there's only so much I can say, so much I can learn, so much I can experience in this body, in this lifetime, because this body and my life is finite. One day I will die. One day everything that I am seeing right now will die. These trees, these buildings that are around me, these cars, they're all deteriorating slowly. That's the reality of being finite. And it's easy to despair and to get into a despairing posture when you are conscious of this reality, or just keep this reality in your thinking. But then there's always hope for what could be as I seek the God above God. Because the God above God is always pulling me somewhere else. As long as I'm existing, right? There's always something else, somewhere else. Whatever I'm experiencing is not forever, because it's finite, which is a beautiful thing. Everything that I'm experiencing will change. Everything. So my prayer, in light of everything that I'm just kind of rambling, is that I will develop a unconditional faith. a faith that is not intimidated by reason or logic or arguments or science, a faith that is not intimidated by anything that I experience, negative or bad, or the world going to hell. A faith that is not conditional upon all of these things making sense and being right. Because I believe this is the faith that we're called to have as human beings. I think this is the relationship to God that we're called to have, unconditional acceptance of what is. It is not that I'm just forsaking my duty and my role to contribute to the beauty and the flourishing of what's around me, but it's first accepting that what's around me is limited. It's accepting that, and also just finding joy in light of that, and finding beauty and peace and love in light of that and in spite of that. So embracing what is and then doing something with the limitations that I have. I think this is what radical and unconditional faith is about. So please give me the God above God. Give me the God of the cloud of unknowing, the God that I can't describe, the God that just leaves me in gratitude for all what is, all of what is, because I know that what is not all. Because there's more. There's always more. As long as I have another day, I will have another day. So our journey upwards is to the God above God. This is what we're all seeking. This is what I'm arguing that we're all looking for. And it requires a lot of faith and a lot of trust and surrender and humility. So my prayer is that I can continue to adopt these qualities, and my prayer is the same for you. And be open to all. Be open to all people as they're pointing at the moon, trying to make sense of what they see. We can be open to them and their interpretations of Scripture, their interpretations of religion and faith and Jesus, and trust that because we're all finite, we all have something to contribute to the questions that are infinite, the questions that will continue to be questions until we die. Is there anything better than going to a park and sitting under a tree where there's a breeze just kind of pushing you or pushing against you? Man, I'm just happy for my existence today. And I'm not going to overthink this video. I think I kind of went everywhere. I don't know if anything was coherent, but I'm just going to trust that something was beneficial to be shared with the internet. And man, I'm just going to enjoy my existence today. I'm going to be grateful for my existence and trust that the God above God is leading me somewhere. Thank you for watching.